are at the SOAR training to work with our individuals with special needs. If that is not where you're supposed to be, now is the time to go, because that is what we're going to be talking about. I wanted to start off by thanking you all for being here. This ministry, and as you volunteer with it, you'll see what a blessing it is to these families, to the kids, and how it ministers to them. Getting a night off, and Doc will be in to share his testimony about why this was started a little bit later on, but I will guarantee you that you will leave the night exhausted, but you will be rejuvenated at the same time. I never thought that was really possible. Your body will be very tired, but you will be very thankful that you are here and the blessing that you are to these families. So thank you very much for considering being a part of this ministry. So I'm going to dive into our training. We are the SOAR ministry. It is through Grace Church, and we also, like I was saying earlier, partner with Redeemer Presbyterian, because we've just outgrown our location, which is awesome. So first I'm going to talk about, you have two pages right next to each other. There is the Grace Church map, and then I'm going to talk about available activities that night. So since this is a respite night, we make this night a lot of fun. We have lots of activities and areas for the kids to transition between. It's kind of like if you've ever been to a school fair or a carnival, there are different rooms and it's open and it's free-flowing type of a thing. So it's really a great night. So some of the activities that we have, of course, we feed everybody dinner and there's snacks. There's crafts. There's a quiet room, because sometimes you will need a quiet room, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. We always have obstacle course, relays. There's open gym games. We usually have volleyball, parachutes, lots of different things, music going on and things up in the gym. There's blocks, Play-Doh. There's a sensory room. A wet sensory room is really fun. We have shaving cream and water table in that room for the kids to play with. We also have video games. And then something else that we offer is a nursery and a preschool for workers. If you have younger children and you need a place for them, that would be a great place for them to go. And they get dinner as well. They get activities. There's lots of, they get dinner. They have lots of activities and lots of fun in their rooms as well. So all of those areas are places that you can volunteer. Of course, one of our major needs is for buddies of the kids with special needs that we have. But if that is not your comfort level and you would rather do like hospitality, greeting people as they come in, getting them checked in, we also need people to set up and tear down. We have a couple of families that come and that's all that they do, because they can't volunteer throughout the night, or if you have something going on earlier but you're available later, we always need help with that, because as I said, we're all pretty tired by the end of the night, and to have fresh people come in and be ready to tear down and put everything away is really nice. So as you can see, we also need medical personnel, photographers, and parent help. So if being a buddy of a child with special needs is not your cup of tea, then we do have other areas that you can help out. So those are things to consider. Go ahead.
By buddy, I assume that means one-on-one mentor?
Yes,
okay.
That's correct.
And that's your greatest need?
That is usually our greatest need. Just, you know, in a craft room you can do without a few people, because our buddies are one-on-one. You're with that student, whether they're going to a sensory room or a craft room. Of course, we still need people in there, but to make sure that everything's safe and running smoothly, we really need one-on-one buddies for the kids.
As well as help with the sibling groups. Those are the two biggest areas usually.
Anything with the kids would be great.
And the siblings go to Redeemer Presbyterian?
Yes.
And where's that at?
That is just up the road, so 159th out here in Antioch. So you'll cross over Antioch on 159th. It's that big church just on the left there. We partnered with them. Our last R&R was the first time that we did that, and it went really well. And we're very thankful to have their location. There's a gym over there and a cafeteria where we have pizza. They do crafts and all kinds of really fun stuff over there too. So it's like a duplicate program just at a different location for the siblings. And that gives us more room here. We were just getting too crowded over here. Okay, so we're going to talk about the evening, different aspects of the evening. The first thing that we're going to talk about is what to wear. Sometimes you will have a student that you'll be working with that needs to get down on the floor. You'll need to be getting down with them. Sometimes you will have a student who is quick on their feet. So you'll want to wear comfortable clothes and comfortable shoes for that night. Also, when you're considering what to wear for that night, you want to be careful about any dangly earrings or jewelry, just in case, they get excited and they would want to grab on you and accidentally get an earring or something like that. So make sure you consider that. Also, fragrances. To certain students, a simple lotion that you might wear might be really strong for them. So just when you're getting ready and you're preparing for that, make sure that you're being considerate of that. Something else we also put in the notes is kids are sometimes afraid of people all in white. Do you know why they might be afraid of people all in white? Doctors, lab coats, anything like that. So a lot of our kids, some of our kids, not a lot, have some medical concerns and have had a lot of doctor's visits and hospital visits and things like that. So just be considerate of those things when you're getting ready for that night. As far as staffing goes, today at the very end we'll talk about your area that you might be interested in now once you get all the information about the different areas that you can participate. And then you will get an email from Doc Hunsley. This is Doc in the back. He is over our SOAR ministry. He will send you an email and let you know what assignment you have. What's nice about that email is if you are a buddy with a student who has special needs, you'll know who that is, you'll know the name, you'll know their age, and you'll know their diagnosis. If you're with a sibling group, you know what age group you have and where you've been assigned. Let's see. And then when you come in, so that's just basic information about your kid. So when you come in, you get a blue plan of care sheet, and it is more detailed. This is something that the parents fill out. Has medical concerns, their likes, their dislikes, activities that they like to do and that they don't like to do, things that might trigger them or set them off, anything like that. It's just to help you understand and get a glimpse of what to expect when your kid arrives. So that's really nice. Just be sure at the end of the night that you get those back to us. Also be considerate, those are private. If you, sometimes you will be buddied with a student or with another adult. You can share your plan of care if you're working with the same kid, but my daughter and I both work with different children. I wouldn't share personal information with my daughter about the kid that I was working with because she has no need to know that. She's working with somebody totally different. If you have questions, sometimes the parents use big words, lots of medical lingo. If you have questions about what is on your blue plan of care sheet, you will bring that to a coordinator. Will be the ones checking you in, or the director or any medical staff that will be available too. I think that's it. So buddy responsibilities. Your number one responsibility, whether you're working with a buddy or you're working with a sibling, is to have fun. Like I said earlier, this is just a free-flowing, fun night where they get a night off, the parents get a night off, the siblings get a night off. So we want to be encouraging, we want to be loving, and we want to have fun with them. Make sure that you're interacting with them and that you're having positive exchanges where at all possible with them. The arrival of the night, you should arrive at 5:30 for final instructions and to eat pizza. If you are working with a, and this will be in the email, right, Doc, which location they need to come to.
Yes.
So if you are working on the special needs side, that is here. If it's the sibling side, it's over at Redeemer. So you show up to whichever location you are working at that night. So you'll eat pizza, you'll get final instructions, and then our families start to arrive at 6 o'clock. And we are all in the gym. They announce when kids have come, so it'll be very important for you to know your child's first and last name. And then you will greet the family and the kid, give them some dinner, help them transition away from their parents. And then another really important thing when parents arrive is to listen to any last-minute instructions. Things change very quickly with our kids. Sometimes medications have changed, sometimes they've had a really bad day, something new in their life that's really setting them off. So you'll really want to take time to listen to the parents, their concerns and what they're feeling like might go on throughout the night. Yes?
If they have like a special diet, will the parent bring their meal with them?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. If they have a special diet and they're not supposed to have pizza, we have families, either they will feed them before they come,
Okay.
or they will bring something with them. And that will be in the blue plan of care. I keep saying that wrong. Plan of care sheet. But yeah, that is good for you to know. And like I said, if you have questions about that, make sure to touch base with a coordinator or medical staff. That's a great question.
But what about tube feedings? There's no tube feedings?
We do have children with feeding tubes, but you don't have to worry about any of that.
Okay.
If there would need to be a tube feeding done, any medications giving or administered, that would all happen through the medical personnel or directors or coordinators, correct? They don't have to worry about any of that.
Right.
So if you have a student who is tube fed, you'll just hang out in the gym, greet them, sing with them, maybe walk them around, let them kind of hang out. We are going to have music up there. Ben Abusada is putting together a group that's going to do some music pretty quickly as they start to arrive, and that'll give them something to do as well. Okay? So a big thing is just to ease their transition into the night, and just be expectant that you play an active role in greeting them and getting them in and also dismissing them. So every student will arrive with a tag that has who they are and where they should be. So just make sure that when you're getting them, you make sure they have a tag on, and when they're leaving that you check those tags with the parents to make sure they're getting to the right person. Because as you can imagine, arrival and dismissal time, because we're all arriving and dismissing in the same little window, it gets a little hectic. So the top tag is the tag, if you're not familiar with our tag system, the top tag is the tag of the parent that they take with them. And this is the student tag that they'll wear with them. If you notice down here it says 9VH, and that's what you match up here with the parent. You just want to make sure that's the same. It also has, if you notice down here, this where it's blacked out is their name, first and last name. And also down here it has what their assignment is that what we would call it, where their location, if they're a sibling or if they are a SOAR student, all of that good stuff, okay? And you will also get a sticker at the beginning of the night.
And there's a
So
little
we know
black
who you are.
line at the bottom of that name tag.
Yes.
That will tell you, some of them will have it, some of them won't. That one says that this person has epilepsy. So anything that's special circumstances, if there's an allergy, if they have low muscle tone, something like that, it'll be listed on their name tag. But if you're a buddy, you'll also get a plan of care that'll tell you all of that stuff as well.
It's a nice little reminder, of what's going on. We can pass that around so you guys can see what those look like. So you want to make sure you have the kid going with the right parent, right? That's a good thing. And also, before parents start to arrive, we, based on input from volunteers, we started transitioning everybody upstairs. We had some comments that transitions were hard and parents were coming and kids are having such a great time, which is good, but then they didn't want to leave and they didn't want to go with their parents because they were having such a great time. So we transition everybody upstairs to the gym again. So you start your evening at the gym and you end your evening at the gym. And you'll end your evening in the gym and it's kind of a calm, getting ready to leave. If you know you have somebody who has trouble transitioning or leaving, you'll make statements like, Mom and Dad are coming soon. Are we excited to show them or talk to them about what you did? Things that you can do to make that transition a little bit easier. Because we want them to know that their kids had a great time, but we also want them to feel like they can come back and not have a huge fight when they leave. So that would be great. Just to talk about medical, some kids that we have more medical needs than others. Medical personnel will be available to administer any medications. If you are given medication when your child comes, make sure that you transition the parent over to medical staff or that you get that to the medical staff. Because sometimes the parents will have last-minute instructions. They'll be talking medical lingo to you that you might not understand, that might be really important for our nurse or our doctor to know. So make sure that you're handling that. If you are asked to do anything that you don't feel comfortable with doing, if you have a student who has tube feeding and you're not comfortable with how do I transition them out of a wheelchair or a chair, I don't quite know how that works, don't hesitate to let a coordinator or a director know that you're not comfortable with that. And we are here to assist you in any way that makes that transition a little bit easier too. Let's see, changing diapers and feeding. Let a coordinator or medical personnel know before feeding and changing diapers. We have adults, some of our adults have diapers too. We want to make sure that we're checking those frequently. We don't want anybody to go home with, soiled that has been sitting there for a while. We want to make sure that we're caring for all of their needs. So that's another one of those areas, if you're not comfortable, let us know. We have plenty of staff on hand to help with that. And then men will be very disappointed by this, but you guys do not do diaper changing. But in saying that, we do have some adult males who may be in diapers, some teens or some males, and it wouldn't be appropriate for Brianna or I to change an adult male's diaper. So we have several men on staff who can help with that. And you may be asked to be in the same room. We don't have anyone one-on-one with a student by themselves, especially in those situations. So you may be asked to stand by or be on hand to, hand the scalpel or the diaper or the, whatever. Hopefully not a scalpel. But once again, just let us know if you're uncomfortable with anything, and we'll help you with any of those. Any questions before we turn it over to sibling groups and what to expect with that?
So where was this rule when my wife and I?
Right.
Yeah,
That's why I said I knew you
know
guys
about
would be really disappointed. Yeah, we need that rule book when you leave the hospital, huh? Okay, so we are going to talk about sibling groups. Siblings of children with special needs do not have a normal life. A lot of times their sibling with special needs has medical issues, has behavioral issues, and needs more attention. And those siblings give up a lot. Willingly, they love their siblings. So this is really a night for them as well. We think of, a respite night being about parents and giving them a night off, which they need. But just as important, and what I love about this ministry, is it doesn't just focus on the special needs side, it focuses on the siblings too and giving them a break. So that's why we have the sibling program. It gives them a chance to be away. Even when it was partnered here at this location, we always kept the siblings and their sibling with special needs flowing in different sessions so that they had their night off too. So it is nice that it's a separate location. They get a dedicated night just to them with some activities that are fun for them. That is over at Redeemer Presbyterian. We also have first aid and medical staff over there, although it's not as much of a need. It's more like scrapes and bruises and falling down and things like that. We also have security over there. So if you are in charge of a sibling group, they are split up into 2 different age groups. And then you will have 15 to 25 in each group, but then we do subgroups under that as well. So you could have anywhere from 7 to 12 kids in your sibling group. It's usually 1 or 2 adults and some teens helping out too. And your basic role for those siblings, once again, is to have fun, love on them, let them know that you care. We have an open gym over there. You're playing basketball with them. You're playing dodgeball with them. You're playing twister with them. Anything that's going on during crafts with them, just making them feel special and feel loved and have some one-on-one time with you. And just like the activities over here, it is free-flowing. That way, if you have a boy who doesn't like to do crafts, he can spend his whole time in the gym. If you have a girl who doesn't like to play basketball, our theme this time is March Madness, obviously. So if they don't like to play basketball or do relays or things like that, they can do crafts or play games and things for them over here. So your basic job is to check them in, make sure, they get fed, they get in their groups, and then just to make sure, kind of policing a little bit the rest of the night to make sure everybody's being safe. But you don't transition with your group. I think that's the nice thing about it. Everybody gets to do what they want to do. So you don't have to gather all your group together and we're all going to do crafts now and then we're all going to go play basketball. So once you eat and you tell them what they can go and do, you're kind of supervising, walking throughout the building, making sure different kids in your group are participating, nobody's on their own, feeling left out, they're having a good time and feeling loved. And then at the end of the night, you'll gather your group back together again, of course, to make sure you have everybody. And if at any point in the night you are unable to find somebody, you've transitioned through all of your rooms, you could just be, lapping each other and not seeing each other. But don't hesitate to let a coordinator know if you feel like you haven't been able to find somebody for a while, and then you can split and make sure that everybody's safe. And our siblings are 5 years old to 13 years old. Trying to think if I've missed anything.
You may have said how many years, but that's the same night?
It is the same night, yes. That way the parents get a night off, with no kids, whether it be the siblings or the kids with special needs. And that's where we do it the same night. And we're lucky to partner with a church that's so close. I don't think I can say enough about Redeemer Presbyterian. We're very lucky to have been able to partner with them, and they've been wonderful. And, the parents don't have to drive too far. They come here, they get all their tags for their kids, including the siblings, slap them on, and then all they have to do is drop off at Redeemer. And we make sure that they have a tag, of course, when they come in, and they're good to go. Okay? Any questions about sibling groups? It's a lot of fun. Either group that you work with, you will have a great time. So just some housekeeping stuff, infection control procedures. We have kids with some medical issues that we've talked about. They're more susceptible to like the common cold. Something that you might just have a runny nose or a sniffle could really make them sick. So you'll want to let a coordinator or director know. Doc will probably be the one that's emailing you. Just reply to him if you or someone in your house has a fever or has been battling something that you're just not sure you should be around kids. And then the other thing that's nice about that, if Doc knows these kids, most of these kids, and he will know, if you contact him, you're like, I'm just not sure, I have the sniffles, I've had it for a while, I don't have a fever, what do you think? He could either move you to another location or another kid, or say, you know what, you should probably stay home that night. Thank you for letting us know. We'll keep you in mind for the next time. So that's really important to keep our kids well. You want to wash your hands often, use gloves if you're diapering. That's hard to remember, so if you see someone diapering someone, and we'll do the same too, just remind them to put on gloves. Okay, so that's something we're all going to help each other with. Toys in our rooms that the kids are in, we spray and we disinfect before the evening, before the night. But you want to make sure that if toys are shared between kids and you've noticed someone kind of mouthing on something, even if you haven't noticed them mouthing on a toy, it possibly has gone in their mouth, or their fingers have gone in their mouth and then they've touched the toy. So just make sure if they're sharing toys amongst each other that you put it in a sink and you disinfect it first. A lot of times that's important, like in the block and the Lego area. And most of our rooms that we're in have sinks in them so that you can disinfect in between. You may not have time, your kid may be running to the next room. If you know that it's been that way, just throw it in the sink and we'll know that it's a toy that maybe has a little goo on it and shouldn't be shared with another kid for a little while. Let's see. I think that's it. Isolated situations, we've already talked about that a little bit. You should never be alone with a kid. Our quiet rooms and our movie rooms sometimes are not as populated as some of the other rooms. As long as the door is open, there are also people to run those rooms. So it really shouldn't be a situation. Even in the halls, there's going to be tons of people going up and down, in and out of places. Just make sure that's a safety issue for you, just so that, if anything were said, that you're sure to have someone with you that can vouch for that, especially, obviously, if you're in the restroom with the kid. And it's okay, on your plan of care sheet, I'm really struggling with that word, it will say whether your student can go into the bathroom by themselves. So we usually prop the bathroom doors open. It's okay if you're working with a boy to stand outside of there and just do verbal reminders. Are you washing your hands? Don't forget to wash your hands. Did you flush the toilet, type of thing? And don't have to go in with them, depending on what the blue plan of care sheet says. Coordinators will be stationed in the following areas: in the main foyer, kids worship, and the downstairs hallways. We have shirts that night that will say, what color shirts do we have?
They're still the old green ones.
It will be green shirts with the SOAR, the eagle, the old SOAR logo on them. So that will be pretty easy to spot, that bright green.
And that's what the coordinators wear, or everyone?
Yes, that's what the coordinators wear. So they're pretty easy to spot walking throughout the halls. And we usually have 2 or 3 down here. Do our medical personnel also wear green?
Possible.
Should be, yeah. So they're pretty easy. We try to rotate around, keep some people down here. There's usually medical down here and a medical upstairs, so we're kind of rotating around. And if you yell, we will be pretty close and we'll be able to get you help. I know I've been in a quiet room in a situation before where I needed to tell one of the other people who had someone with them to go grab somebody for me. Sometimes you're in a situation you can't get out to tell somebody that you need help. You can always tell someone else in the room to go grab you someone. And nobody will be very far away.
Security will also have probably some yellow vests they'll be wearing, like parking vests. And all the coordinators, security will all have walkie-talkies on, so it's easy to communicate with everyone.
So what kind of ratios are we talking here? Like one coordinator for 20 buddies, one coordinator for...
We have several coordinators. Do we have, plus the medical personnel, do you know our ratios, Doc?
And I'm not trying to make it a math.
No.
No,
Overall,
that's a good question.
Can I give you the numbers overall that we've had? And again, this all used to be just here at Grace, and that's why I'm thankful we now have 2 locations. 100 individuals with special needs, age range birth to 55 years, 97 to 98 siblings. That age is birth to 13, because we also have nursery and preschool here, and then we have the 5 to 13-year-olds. And honestly, the reason we don't go above 13 for siblings, it's just not cool to be seen with us anymore. 13. But what's cool is a lot of the siblings have signed on to start volunteering with us, because they love seeing that. And then 350 volunteers. So we've got an enormous amount of help. We never have enough, though, believe it or not. So we got a lot of numbers around there. Some of the buddies they're all at least 1-to-1. Some will be 2-to-1. Some will have 3 volunteers for 1. Kind of varies. Every single room will have somebody in it, volunteer-wise. So we're always set there as well. So there's going to be plenty of people all around that you can see and get help.
Or ask someone to go
Or
get
ask.
you help.
I have a question too about the ratio from in the church and outside the church. Is it mostly people from
Yeah.
That's a
outside
great
the church?
question.
Couple things I really love with SOAR here. First off, as far as families who are going to be here participating in it, 80% of our families do not attend Grace Church. So it's a major outreach.
Wow.
For our volunteers, 45% do not attend Grace Church. Again, great, amazing outreach. Several in the room right now don't attend Grace, so this is great. But we love that. It's a very much, view this as a community opportunity, community outreach. Bottom line, and I'll give my spiel here in a minute. Finding myself starting to get in. Bottom line is there are a huge amount of need in this city for respite nights, for breaks. New stat was just released last week. 90%, 90, of families with special needs do not attend church. The reason is they don't feel someone can take care of their child. It's not necessarily that they are told, which we do see and hear, that they can't come to church, that the church won't take care of. They're afraid that the church isn't comfortable to be able to take care of their child. And so they just don't go. That number 10 years ago was 93%. Okay? In 10 years, we've made 3% improvement. That's horrible. So my prayer for Kansas City, I shared it with my team this morning, is at least in Kansas City, we're going to cut that number down to 50% in the next 2 to 3 years. That's my hope and prayer. We've got just launched a Kansas City Special Needs Ministry Network. We've got 30 churches in the area who we're partnering with to get special needs out and about in the community, to help other churches to do it. And it's a very important thing. This is not a Grace Church thing. This is the Big C Church, about taking care of our families. letting them know that we love them and that Jesus loves them, that these kids are not a mistake, that every single one of these children are created perfectly in the image of God. And I strongly and firmly believe that. I know that is true. How important was special needs to Jesus? Well, when he walked on earth, 75% of the miracles that Jesus did were done on those with disabilities. Jesus was the very first special needs pastor. He ran the first special needs ministry. And we need to follow in his footsteps and do the same. So I'll let you finish, and then I'll get more on my
so
my
want to
spiel.
go back. Nobody's really. I get to talk about seizures. No, Doc's going to come back at. He has a great heart, obviously, for this ministry and a great testimony about why it started. So just a few more housekeeping items. Because we have kids with some medical issues, sometimes you may be partnered with a student who has seizures. Most important thing, seizures don't become aren't constituted as an emergency unless they're 5 minutes or longer. So the first thing, if you suspect that a kid that you're working with is having a seizure, the first thing that you're going to do, make sure they're safe, they're on the floor, you're not touching them or holding them down, and that you look up at the clock. You're going to want to know what time exactly that started. Some of them have medications that we can administer or that medical staff can administer, and they need to know when it started and how long it's been going on before they give that. Yes?
I'm guessing it's probably not all like Hollywood, and maybe it's not easy to tell right away.
That's very true. Some kids have, and that will be on your blue plan of care sheet, if you have a student who is known to have seizures. Sometimes they are drop seizures. Sometimes they just will just stare off. And that's hard because a lot of our kids, my kids, stare off into space and you're like, are you listening to me? And they're not having seizures. So you're right, sometimes it is very hard to see. It's not the grand mal seizure where they're on the floor and they're jerking and having some trouble. But yeah, usually the kids that have seizures we put with people who understand what to look for, that know those kids, or have worked with someone who has had something like that. If it's your first time, and we're going to talk about some behavior issues later on, if it's your first time to work with us, Doc does a really nice job of being very considerate of who he puts you with, your comfort level, your background, and we want to make it a positive experience for everybody, so we want you to put you with somebody who you're comfortable with. So we usually try to give the vets, the new people, somebody who doesn't have as many of those issues to kind of ease you into it, and that way we can assess your comfort level of things. And then the vets get the behaviors and the medical issues. It really is a fun night. That is most of our procedures. Just one more thing, feedback. A lot of the changes that we've made with the ministry are because we heard from you. Positive and negative. We need to know that. If there's something that you see throughout the night that needs to be changed, or you have an idea of a way to do things better, or you've seen something done better, we want to hear that, because a lot of what this ministry has changed tons from when we first started it, and a lot of it was based off of information for you all. But we're very glad you're here. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Doc, and then Brian is going to come later and talk about behaviors, which is really fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to do good. I'm going to try to stay nice and centered instead of walking all around like I normally do. But first, let me just kind of introduce myself and let you know a little bit about me. My name's Doc Hunsley. My real name's Stephen. But everyone calls me Doc because I'm a retired pediatrician. I actually had to hang up my stethoscope because I kept getting sick from my patients and almost died. In fact, I should be dead. Every doctor that I had didn't expect me to be able to walk out of the hospital. But God had his hand on me and allowed me to do that. I was a pediatric ER and urgent care doc here in town. And so after that became Mr. Mom for a while, which was the hardest job I've ever had in my life. And then following that was a children's pastor at another church for about 3 years in town, and been here now at Grace about 2.5 years. Been on staff in the role as pastor for actually a year, coming up just this month a year. So love that. A little bit about my background as well and why SOAR, why special needs is so important to me. I am a family with special needs. My second son, Mark, was born with Dravet syndrome, which is a very rare genetic seizure disorder. And then he was also autistic. And 3 years ago, he was cured of all that when he was born into heaven. He passed away at the age of 5.5. And he blessed our life for 5.5 years. I learned more from that little boy than I have from any schooling I've ever done and anything I ever will do. I learned that a family with special needs is unlike any other family. It is incredibly stressful. It is 24/7, 365. There are no breaks. You are exhausted. You are stressed out. You don't know what to do. If you get a minute of free time, you just want to sleep. I mean, it is hard. You never get those breaks. The divorce rate for families with special needs is 90%, 90. If you add a medical issue to it, like seizures, that jumps to 95%. Biggest reason, mom and dad don't get to have time to share with each other. Because what happens usually in a family with special needs, and this is my belief and why the divorce rate is so high, what happens in these families is usually one of the parents has to give up their job to help take care of the child. Usually, it's mom that does that. Dad usually keeps working. Well, what happens? Mom goes to all the doctor's appointments. Mom goes to all the therapy sessions, and it's worn out. The child at night has issues going on, needs something. Dad's not fully sure what to do because he's not been to any of those appointments, so mom scoops in to do it because she knows what to do. And not really thinking, oh, I'm not going to have dad do it. Just being mom, doing what comes naturally. Well, you do that over and over and over, and dad starts feeling that he's not part of the family. He's not involved in the process. Because you also never get a chance to be together at all. Usually when you get a chance to be together with your spouse is after the kids are to bed. But the very first thing you want to do is go to sleep. Because there are no such things as a normal night either. Usually the night has several waking up periods or something going on. You know, I can't begin to tell you the number of nights I was awakened with hearing my son having a seizure. Having to run into his room and take care of him. You just don't sleep comfortably. You don't get those good nights. So what happens is the mom and dad, they don't have that good time together where they can actually communicate, and dad ends up saying, well, that's it, I'm done, and I'm out. That's why these nights are so important. These nights allow mom and dad that time together to spend with one another. Again, you can't go out and just get the neighbor girl next door to babysit. You know, with my son, I couldn't do that. He had severe seizures. And I needed someone who was going to be able to take care of him. Someone who wasn't going to be freaked out from the seizure or from his autism. Both of which can be extremely scary. They scared me. So I know it would scare someone else. So I couldn't get just anyone. Well, can I share how those evenings are like? We had an evening that my wife and I had to go to. It was a work-related event. Neither my wife nor I wanted to go to it, but we had to go. We were blessed that my in-laws live here in town, but they had other plans. They could not help out that night. And even when you have other family, trust me, they get tired and it wears them out to be able to help take care of your kids. But they had other plans. They couldn't do it. We checked with Mark's teachers. They couldn't help him out. They couldn't, do it that night. So we had to go with my absolute last plan, and that plan was to use a nanny service. The church I was at, we were using a nanny service, and they gave me a great deal because I used them so much. My deal was that I got to pick the nanny, and then they gave me a discounted rate. Well, that rate required me to have a 3-hour minimum. I only needed 2 hours. And my son was only awake 30 minutes before, he was going to be in bed anyways. So I had to pay for 3 hours that night for a night I didn't want to go to, and I didn't get really spend any time with my wife. It cost me $100 an hour. That was $300 for that night. That is normal. Okay? These parents don't go out. They do not go out. They are at home all the time with their kids. They can't afford it. Being a parent is expensive on top of it. So they just can't do it. So that's why these nights are so important. It's important for them as a family. Our very first one, we had a mom and dad come back, and I asked them that evening how the evening was. And both mom and dad are sitting there with tears in their eyes. And dad shared with me, Doc, Monday, this was on a Friday night. He goes, Doc, Monday morning at 9 o'clock, I got an appointment with my attorney. I'm filing divorce papers. He goes, but we just had dinner for the first time in 11 years together. I realize I love my wife. And we need more nights like this. Almost 3 years later, I'm very happy to say that couple's still together. He delayed that meeting, and they're still together because they're taking advantage of these nights and other nights. This does make a difference. And you also heard it's not normal for the family. Siblings don't have a normal life. Siblings have a very hard time. You know, my oldest son, Luke, he was 3 years older than Mark, and he's going through this. He had to give up many things. They just don't get to do the things that everyone gets to do. He had a birthday party. Mark had a seizure. I went and told, and Mark's nickname for me was Bubba. So I went up to Luke and said, hey, bud, Bubba just had a seizure. Mom's going to stay here with your party. I've got to go. I've got to take him home and take care of him. And Luke sat there and said, no, that's my brother. I'm going with him. They will give it up for their sibling. They will sacrifice themselves. That's why this night's so important. Not just for the husband and wife, for the siblings, and for the individuals themselves. So SOAR, this is a big part of SOAR, but this isn't the reason we exist. SOAR, the whole reason is for our weekends, is to allow families to come to a church. Again, I shared the number earlier, the 90% that don't go to church. We have one family who have been asked to leave a church 4 times because they've been told their child's not welcome there. I don't want to ever hear that again. And that will never happen here. So our main purpose with SOAR is to be able to provide for the weekend, to give services to them. We have adult ministries that we'll do for them as well. We help with our student ministries, so there's all kinds of opportunities if you'd like to help other times. We also offer a support group that meets once a month for our families on a Saturday night. We're always looking for buddies for that. That's the 3rd Saturday of every month from 6 to 7. It's a time where the families can get together to talk. We usually bring in speakers to help them out with things. And then we have our respite nights every other month. So we would love to have you guys help out in any way you can. We love having you here today and being a part of this week. And I just want you to know the importance of this night. And I'll also tell you right now that every single one of you, I can promise, you will be exhausted Friday night at 9 o'clock. You will be worn out. But when you see those parents' faces coming back, and you see the amount of fun these kids had, you will have been blessed more than you ever thought you would bless someone else. You are the one being blessed as much as these families. And that's one thing I'm very proud with this ministry about. The other is that I highly encourage families to serve together. I want this to be a family event. So continue doing that, be a part of it, and be ready to be blessed and have fun. Turn it over to Brian.
Thanks.
All right, so I get to talk about something that's not as fun as everybody else. I get to touch on the behavior piece, which isn't fun when you're thinking about behaviors. And we define behavior, negative behavior, as a crisis, and it's just a moment in time when an individual in your charge loses their ability to be in control of their body, either physically or mentally, and they're not able to control their own behavior. It causes me anxiety. I'm a special ed teacher. It's my 3rd year doing it, and it still causes me anxiety when I have a kid, who's having severe behaviors. And so just remembering when you're dealing with it, just stay calm. A lot of times lowering your voice and just talking calmer is really going to help them. So instead of being the high-strung self that I normally am, I have to bring myself down. And so that's something that you're always having to constantly think about. That's going to cut down the length of the behavior immensely because you're calm and you're talking calm and you're still loving them even though they're out of control. You still love them. That's going to be huge for them. A lot of times it just doesn't happen, like a behavior just doesn't start just like that. Most of the time you're going to see it starting. Either they're going to start pacing, they're going to just start being agitated, their words aren't going to come out as clear if they're verbal, aren't going to be as clear as they normally were. You're going to be able to see it coming. Some of those signs might be stemming, which stemming behavior is just a repetitive behavior, so they might be flapping more than they normally are, or rocking, running, pacing back and forth, verbal outbursts where they might be cussing, saying some inappropriate language. So if your kids are coming to serve with you, you might want to warn them that this is something they might hear. Again, it's not very common, but it's something that they might hear, and just tell them that they don't know, they don't understand, that it's not okay, and that I don't ever want you to talk like that. Some of it might be self-injurious behaviors. They're starting to hit their head, bite on their hands, or just refusing to follow directions and non-compliance, or refusing to leave, and they're just having a rough time. If they don't want to leave something, like Angie said, don't make them. It's kind of their night. If they want to stay in that same room all night, great. You might be kind of bored from the same thing, but they're loving it, and just try to make it new for them and encourage them to leave. But if they don't want to, that's okay too. So then some of the reasons for behavior might be they don't want to do it. They want to escape the task. They don't want to follow that direction. So allow them to leave. If they don't want to be there, allow them to leave. If they don't want to do the craft, let them leave. Let them get out of it. Nothing they don't have to do anything that they don't want to do. So remembering that if you want to go to the craft room, or if you want to go get your face painted, they don't have to. So remember, it's them first and then you. A lot of it might be attention. You might be talking to another adult and you're not paying attention to them at all. So they want you to pay attention to them. So they might hit you or spit on you or whatever. Ignore that behavior immediately, but then draw attention back to them as soon as they're following directions. So like if they just hit you or spit on you or whatever, don't draw attention to it immediately, because again, if they spit on you and they got your attention, you say, "Oh, you don't spit." They might spit on you the rest of the night, because guess what? I just got a rise out of you and I got a lot more attention, because they can't see that difference between negative attention and positive attention. So you want to overdo the positive. "Oh, I really like how you're walking with me. Oh, you did a great job on the craft. Oh, look at how awesome that face paint is on your arm." Like whatever it might be. Just always overdo the positive and not so much with the negative. And then they might want power or control. A lot of times these kids don't get to have a lot of choices. So let them feel like they are in control. Well, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? Would you like to go upstairs or would you like to stay downstairs? Giving them control of the situation as much as you can, because a lot of times they don't get to make decisions. So whenever they get to make a decision, it's like $1 million that you just gave them. To do that. Communication, it might be they're nonverbal, they can't tell you what they want. It could be as little as, "Show me what you want." Or if they are verbal, tell me what you want. Use your words. Because it might be, they're just trying to grab stuff. Well, use your words. What do you want? Where do you want to go? And just staying calm that whole time. They might be stressed or frustrated about something. Give them a break. We have our SOAR room, which is across the hallway, which has a swing in there. There's a trampoline. There's little bikes in there. And then we have a calming room, and it's all on the map too, that the lights are turned down low. There's pillows. There's books. There's blankets and things in there, as well as the movie room that will probably be in this room. There will be 2 movies, a movie in here and a movie in there. So just allowing them that break and just kind of time to de-escalate is going to definitely help. And then they are wanting to do self-stimulation or sensory stimulation. So allow them to seek some sensory activities, like if they're like running, allow them to go up to the gym and run around where it's safe to run. And then, and where it says on the page below, it's actually on, it used to be on here, the sensory stimulation under the crisis prevention techniques. So deep pressure might just be pushing on their shoulders, giving them squeezes, going into doing the swing, bouncing on a bouncy ball, anything like that is going to give them some of that sensory that they're seeking. If they're putting things in their mouth constantly or biting, hey, let's go get a snack upstairs, let's go get some pizza, let's go get some goldfish, because they're wanting some sort of stimulation in their mouth. So allow them to get something that's appropriate. So again, be proactive before the situation is out of control. And at any time you guys feel uncomfortable, grab myself, grab Dot, grab Angie, anybody in a green shirt. Ask somebody for help if you can't, get somebody because they're having a behavior. Grab one of us, because that's why we're here. We're here to help you. We're here to make sure that you guys feel comfortable in what you're doing. So don't feel bad that you need help. I call for help all the time, and that's my job. So don't feel bad. So be empathetic, pay attention, love that kid, get down on their level. Sometimes getting down on your knees and talking very calm is just going to stop it right there, because you care. You show so much that you care that you're not going to talk above me. You're going to come to where I'm at. Clarify your message. You can say first, then, if this, then this. Allow them to know, like making sure, check that they're understanding. So ask them, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? If they're able to obviously tell you and speak back to you, or have them, okay, well, show me where we're going to go. And then again, that sensory stimulation piece is going to be huge. Set and enforce reasonable limits. So if you've told them no once, make sure you're consistent and keep it no. If it's something like that's obviously not going to be helpful for them, or that's going to be harmful, make sure that you always say no. And some of them, if they have issues where they can't jump on the trampoline or whatever, say no, you know what, we can't, it's not safe. Then make sure you're always saying no. And even if they start to get mad, keep it no, because otherwise they're going to say, oh, well, she let me get away with this. What else is she going to let me get away with? Ignore the challenging questions, like what time are my parents going to be back? You can say, oh, they'll be back soon. I'm not sure what time, because some kids can read the clock, and you said my parents are going to be back at 9 and it's 9:01. You're a liar. You just lied to me. And they just lost your trust. And it's really hard sometimes to not give a direct answer, but just kind of try to dance your way around what the answer really should be. Avoid overreacting, because if you overreact, then that's just going to push them up and they're going to overreact some more. So try to re-engage them in the activity that they were doing once they're starting to get escalated. Use physical techniques as a last resort, and that's something I never want you guys to do. I've been trained in how to restrain children via my job, and so it's not something I ever want you guys to do. If there is a kid that's like constantly hitting and you can't stop it, you can't get away from it, that's, again, when you want to call us, and we're going to be able to do that. And we'll just try to, start where you guys probably started, but we always use that as a last resort, because we never want to have to do that. And then remind of their reinforcement. So if there's something like that they really, really like that night, remind them, hey, you know what? If you do a good job, we can go back to this room, because that's going to be huge. Because a lot of times they're not going to remember it. Oh, I really like that, or I can go back there. So reminding that, oh, well, let's work for this. Let's go do this. Is going to be very, very helpful to you. Sometimes their parents might tell you things that they really like at the beginning of the night. So making sure that you are really listening to the parents, so that way you can use that and kind of keep it in your back pocket for a time that you might need it. So any questions on the behavior piece? I kind of went through it quickly, but again, thank you guys so very much. We could not do ministry without you. We wouldn't be able to have these nights. They wouldn't be able to get bigger without more volunteers coming in. So we really appreciate every one of you. And remember just to love each of these kids, even if you're working with siblings or with kids with special needs directly, that they are each a child of God and uniquely and wonderfully made in His image. So just remember that through some of those hardest times. If you haven't let Doc know where you want to serve, you can come talk to Angie or myself, and we would love to get you plugged in with a place where we're needing some help.
And if could I ask, make sure that everyone has signed in, let us know that you were here. Everyone over 18, again, if you haven't already given us one, we need a background check on you. The other thing, guys, help us go recruit some friends. This one, and I'm going to ask you all to pray. I'm going to throw it out here right now. We're a little stressed for this week because we just don't have the volunteers. This little thing called March Madness has killed us. And we have very few volunteers compared to what we normally need. So recruit your friends. We'd love to have them. And it's not required to go through the training before the night. We recommend it. It definitely is helpful. But recruit, share with them. And I hope after you serve with us that you will be blessed and you will want to do it again. That's the other thing I'm very pleased about is that we have a super high retention rate in our volunteers, and it's because they see the difference this is making. Two other things I just want to let you know about coming up this summer that I'm very excited about. One, we are going to be launching our very first SOAR SBO. SBO here at Grace is our summer breakout. It's our version of VBS. And it's going to be in the evening. The date just left me, June 9th through 13th. It's been a long week, guys. June 9th through the 13th is our SBO. We're going to have very limited spots. This is our first one. But we're going to need volunteers. So if you would like to help out that night with one of the kids and buddy them, or if you want to help out on the regular SBO side, we'd love to have you. We've got plenty of room for everybody. The other thing we're doing that I'm very excited about is we are going to be having a camp, a special needs day camp in July. And it's all day, looking for volunteers. For that, it's actually one, though, in which you have to pay to volunteer. But here's my thing. If you serve in SOAR and help us, I will either partially scholarship you or fully scholarship you if you need it for serving with that camp. We are partnering. We're going to host it here. We are partnering with Champion Special Ministries. And this is what they do. They go around the country putting on camps. And so we're excited about having that here and see what that's going to do. But just want to throw it out before we close. Does anyone have any questions about anything you heard here today or SOAR or anything in general? So just the bottom line, guys, come have fun. Have fun with your kids. It's going to make the whole night easier. I know we got some incredible group here with National Honor Society. They're going to be serving with us. Let others know I have zero problem with giving community service hours for this. This is, I believe, one of the best ways you can get that. Again, have your kids serve.
You can also give them for sitting in here and training, too.
As I see them having their stuff, yeah. So that all definitely counts. But if you need anything else, just holler at us. Check in the back, and if you got your background paperwork or anything, give that to them. And I need to run upstairs. If you have questions for me, I will be at the SOAR table upstairs. So come by and find me.